Welcome everybody. I'm really delighted to see so many of you here today. The committee wants you to believe that we're sailing serenely through the day like a swan, but underneath our little legs are really travelling very fast. We've had to do a lot to pick up pieces and get everything organised, so bear with us if everything isn't quite as smooth as it sometimes is, but we do hope you have a great time and you'll all pitch in and help when necessary. A special welcome to our guests from abroad. You'll have seen the blue t-shirts for Asadea, and a warm welcome to Letitia, who's going to say a few words about the French equivalent of Reach this afternoon when we do our business part, and to all the other French families that are here, Natalie, Armin, Aurélie, and also a very warm welcome again to Sal and Claudio from Raggiungeri, the Italian organisation. We do feel that our links with other European groups are really important as we go forward, and we intend to build on that. We hope that one day we'll be able to send our kids over to join with their activities as well. Maybe they'll learn a bit of French and Italian and come back and bring some kids from abroad back to us, so that we can all have friends everywhere, which I think is really what this is all about. Today we've got some fantastic speakers. You'll have seen on the introductory programme that the little bios of everybody, so I really don't need to do too much of an introduction. We've got two speakers this morning, then a break, and another two speakers this afternoon. We will then hold a little business session dealing with just Reach matters, and we do hope that you will hang around for that, because there's some important information for you about what we're now going to be doing in the future and employing someone new to help us run Reach. Now, without more ado, I'd like to introduce Nick Hillsdon, MBE. Nick got his MBE this year for outstanding achievements in upper limb prosthetics and in the community, and we're delighted to welcome him. He's from Opcare at Roehampton to speak today, and thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, my name is Nick Hillsdon. I'm up in prosthetics. I've worked at Roehampton since about 1978, which looking at me, you wouldn't think I was that old, would you? In those days it was quite a lot different to what it is now, and I'm going to show you some of the changes over the years, some of the things that have happened, some of the limbs that our children are wearing at the moment, and some of the limbs that a few adults are wearing as well. I hope you'll be interested in both. That's a picture of us, the crew that was at Roehampton. All of us there are prosthetists fitting upper limbs. There are no lower limb prosthetists there. The two at the front were a student and one administrator. There were 6 prosthetists there. It's a picture of me when I had a nice head of hair. I think you might recognise Peter Stockbridge in between on the back row, second from the left. He's the manager of Leicester at the moment. And there's also Bob Watts right in the middle, a little Bob bombshell. Everyone should know he's in there. He also trained with steepers and qualified. In those days, we used to travel around a lot to all the other centres, because steepers had the upper limb contracts. All the centres were perhaps they were just doing lower limbs full time, and we would go around part time and do the upper limb prosthetic work. And they bring it all back to Roehampton. Behind us there's a workshop, and in the workshop there's 18 upper limb technicians, all making sockets for people. We used to see more patients in those days for sure. Patients used to come in more often, perhaps the limbs used to break down more often, and we used to see more children, which is, I know what we're here today for them. We probably used to see children, on a Tuesday was Children's Day, and we probably see between 10 and 12 children each week. And we'd record them every 3 months, and they'd come in every 3 months to see us, and we'd update their limbs. What has changed a lot is that people find it difficult to get to us now. Time's precious, and perhaps schooling is very important. So we don't perhaps see patients as often as we'd like. So what we tend to do now at Roehampton, we will see them every 6 months if they're wearing prosthesis. But if they're not wearing prosthesis, we'll try and recall children back periodically once a year. And that seems to work quite well. We don't see all the children, they don't want to make appointments, but we try to get them all in. What will happen, we'll write to them and ask them to make an appointment, and probably half of them do who don't wear prosthesis, and they'll come in and look at the latest developments and discuss what's going on in the prosthetic world and how we can help. This is the early days of myoelectric. This is when I first started. This was the first myoelectric for children in the UK. That was in 1978. And she went to Sweden for the arm. She caused massive publicity. There's all sorts of things going on there. Her parents formed pressure groups wanting to know if it would be available on the NHS. And they had organised a meeting in a North London sports hall, and the NHS people were there. I think it was the health service there, that's what it's called in those days, and some representatives from Stevenage were also there, and they decided to adopt this Swedish hand, which was the smallest one, and they would also make 2¼ inch hands and 2½ inch hands. So they developed the children's myoelectric hands before any adult hands at all here in the UK, and that's what was sort of priority, and that's where the market was. So they carried on and made these hands, and that girl there, Jo, is still going and still bringing a myoelectric arm today. That's her, so I'll pick this much back, and you can see the likeness. So that's a nice picture of her. So she's still a patient of ours, and she's in her 30s now. Around we've got about 60 myoelectric patients wearing myoelectric arms. Of those 60, just 5 of them are under 16 years of age. And they were the ones that are using them vary from age as 5 years old up to about 15. But the rest of the adults, they do very well with them. This particular group of patients have known nothing else. What would happen in the early days, they would come into Roehampton, they would get their artificial limb after a couple of days, and then they would stay as inpatients for 2 weeks with their mums usually, going home at weekends, getting really good intensive training, and that training stands them in good stead for the rest of their lives. And these people now, about 15, a group of 15 of them, this age group, who've never known anything but wear an electric arm, so they've perhaps had them since 85, and they've grown up with them and used them all their lives. It's an interesting story. I saw this girl, not this one, another girl this week, and she told me, she ran out last year. She was in Scotland, and she got a myoelectric arm, and she'd only got one battery with her, and she left the battery charger at home, and she ran up in panic. She said, "I've got one battery, I can't manage, so I'm not really able to drive my car, I'm not really able to eat a meal, do all these things," purely because she's never known life without a myoelectric arm, and she's a good myoelectric user. And so we sent her 2 batteries in the post, and she got them the next day, and she was fine and had a good holiday. But I saw her this week and mentioned it to her, and she remembered it well. And she said to me, "No, I'm never without them. They're very, very reliable. The batteries last a lot longer than they used to. The sockets are much more comfortable, and they are a reliable arm. And people who've got them and used them all their lives certainly get full value for money out of them." This is my favourite copy of Reach. Now, if I get a Reach magazine, we always get Fiona Rosie. She brings them round to us, and this is, I think it's spring 2011. It's my favourite copy because I've got 3 of our patients inside the Reach magazine, all wearing artificial limbs. When we normally see a Reach magazine, no one's wearing an artificial limb, but in this copy, there are patients who's really good. You've got Billy at the bottom on his bike with his bicycle appliance. This Anna with her arm she wears in ballet, and Matthew with his trombone appliance. So what that shows to me, these children are wearing arms for a specific reason, not arms they're wearing all the time. They just wear them for that specific purpose, and then they'll take them off again. In the early days, there were lots and lots of different appliances that would plug into arms, and you could use them, different things. What would happen in the 1950s, people would come along, get their leather arm with all straps on it, and get some appliances in the box and go home and use these appliances. Some of these appliances are still available today from Steve, and they're very good appliances. We haven't supplied many darning appliances lately, and different things, but potato peeling appliances. Some of those have not got that much use, but there are probably half of those are still available today, and people do get use out of them, but much more likely to produce specific bespoke wine farms for specific purposes. Here's some of the bespoke farms that we produce. The top one there is a black it's got a silicone sleeve on it, and it's used for weightlifting, and so the patient, you can put his weights in there and he can do with all his freestanding weights up and down. The middle one was one of the girls who was in the Paralympics, and she used that for her special pulleys in the multi-gym, and that arm worked really well for her, and that she's on the website if you want to have a look at the details for using it. And the bottom one, I don't know if anyone knows what that bottom one's for. It's for riding. It's a girl, we use leather, she got a leather gauntlet on there, something that's very comfortable and forgiving, so people like to have a leather gauntlet if they're going to use it and wear it for long periods, particularly where you've got bony areas around the wrist there. So the strap would go just around that loop, and she would hold onto it and put it back, and she wears it all the time. She's very good dressage, this girl, and she wears that every weekend when she's out riding. There's a list there of all the bespoke cars. I get down pretty exciting. Is a big thing with children. Everybody wants it. And the next slide is I'll show you some cycling appliances. Gym appliances and weightlifting appliances are getting more and more popular. The guitar. When boys get to about 13 or 14, they all seem to like to play the guitar. So we've got hundreds of different, well not hundreds, 5 or 6 different guitar designs. The guitar is a good thing. Once we had a session at Hampton where all the boys with their guitars came in at the same time, and they all exchanged views and showed us how they could play these different chords on the guitar with their appliances. Cricket, holding to a scooter, climbing, hockey, all these kinds of things are very useful. So what happened, people just want an appliance for a specific purpose, and that's what we're more likely to buy now for children. They'll want something maybe for playing guitar, for the gym, or for cycling, and that's quite a common thing that we do now. Here's a few more specific children appliances. The one on the top left, some of Bruce's multi-grip cutlery plugs into that top pink appliance. A little girl has that. She wears it around her wrist. She hasn't got a hand, and she plugs in a knives and forks and things like that. The top right is a appliance for washing. So that just stays around the side of the bath in the shower room, and you put that on. If you expand in there, you can wash yourself with it. It's really quite popular and quite a good appliance for people. Certainly those is one of the things. The one at the bottom left is the cycling appliance. This little girl didn't want to wear an arm. She wouldn't wear an arm. We made this little appliance for her, so when she's on a bike, she can put her arm into that, it will swivel and move around, and she can put pressure on it and steer the bike. What they have to do, those people, they need to move the brake onto the other side. So it's something we always emphasise, that you need to have both brakes on one side if you're using a little appliance like that, and you can't use a brake on your own. And that, the peculiar looking thing on the bottom right hand side is an appliance for playing the guitar. Now this chap is very good guitarist, and he didn't really knock this up himself. All it is a silicone sleeve that fits over his arm, and it's got a pin on the bottom, and he put a piece of steel through that, a steel rod, and a little rubber holder. Inside that rubber holder he pushes a plectrum. We've got one boy who's at the London School of Music, and he plays a bass guitar. He's probably the best guitarist, and he just uses a little socket, and into that socket he just plugs a plectrum, and he just plays like that. And with a bass guitar he gets away with it, and he's really good. This one's got a picture on its own. It's a press-up appliance. We do quite a lot of these. We have 3 girls in the Paralympics, and they all have these press-up appliances. I think Matthew's got one who's training in swimming now, because they're good, they're simple and easy to make. Just plug into the end of the arm, and you can do your press-ups on it. As long as it's comfortable at the end of the socket. We might need to put some little silicone gel in the bottom of the socket to make it comfortable, but they're proved in quite a popular appliance these days. I'm going to talk a little bit about this guy. I know he's not a child, but he was a child when he first lost his arm. He was playing on the railway in Putney, and he's mad keen on trains. He lost both his arms to his shoulder, got electrocuted, And even after he got electrocuted, he still wanted to go back, and he still was massive interest in trains, particularly steam engines. At that time, it was the late 1960s, and the thalidomide children were around it. At Roehampton we had one ward especially devoted to the thalidomide children. And he was able to utilise this and use the limbs that they made for the thalidomide children. Some of the parts came over from Germany, some were made in the UK, and there was lots of these bits and pieces available. After a few years, the thalidomide children rejected the artificial limbs and decided they didn't want to wear prosthetic limbs anymore because most of them had a little photomelia at the shoulder. But it was to his advantage, and he carried on using these transparent limbs until 2003, which is remarkable. I'm sure he's the last person in the world to be using transparent limbs because he hung on to them. He didn't want to let them go. He liked them, and we had a unlimited supply almost of bits and pieces that we could just use again and refurbish them and keep them going. But in the end, they've really worn out completely. So we've managed to find some electric split hooks, ETDs, come from America, which are very similar to the type of hooks that he used on his gas-powered limbs. Inside the socket, he's got little switches in which he just touches with his shoulder, and he can open the hand and close open the hook and close the hook, and he can rotate the hook one way and rotate the hook the other way on the right hand side. On the left hand side, he merely opens and closes the hand. Now, perhaps the motion mark not operating that, if that's high enough, he can flex the arm. If you imagine, he just swings the arm and he flexes it and locks it in position. Because he's been doing all his life, he's very good at it. It's amazing. If you look at, he's got very short stumps, and if a patient's got a longer stump than that, it's easy for them to flex the arm and lock it. But for someone with a short stump like that, I wouldn't really try to get them to operate an automatic elbow lock, but he can do it. So it's quite complex. He has to elevate the shoulder, pull it back, and it will drop into lock. So he just swings it like that and locks it like that. Amazing. And then you open and close the hand. He lives completely independently, and he has a pretty good life. He does everything for himself. He's got two sets of these arms now, and his pendulum is fit. It's very difficult to get the fittings right, particularly locating the switches in the right place. But once he's happy and away, it's good. It's really quite satisfying to work with him. Here's another a double above a high level amputee. But this young man, you might remember, came to the UK in 1995 under a blaze of publicity. He came to Roehampton for us to fit artificial limbs to after he lost all the members of his family in a USA bomb attack around Baghdad. And he was in a really bad way when he first got to us, but we got to he started doing well. We gave him a functional electric hand on one side, and then we made him a functional electric arm on the left hand side, which he was really doing very, very well with. And we had a reception for Sky TV in his house, and I'll never forget it. We went to his house, and he'd been working all day with Fiona in the Olympic Centre, working with his arm, doing it so well, and he sat down, took his arms off, sat down, and his uncle fed him. But he could do it himself. He could do really well with his artificial limbs, but he rejected them, and I thought after that he wasn't going to do very well with them. He rejected the arms, gave him some cosmetic arms which he wore to school, and he carried on wearing those to go to school, but now he doesn't wear anything. And we saw him probably 2 months ago, hoping that he was going to take up arms again, but I think he's getting married soon, so I'm sure it'll be his wife. So if you imagine, he can't go to the toilet, can't eat his dinner, he can't do anything at all without prosthetic limbs, but he's quite happy for that situation to go on. And I think it might be a cultural thing, but he's always going to have someone by his side doing things for him. But that's the way he's got used to it, and that's how he wants to carry on. Now, something else we've done fairly recently, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, is lightweight arms. We've done a few for patients who've got high-level amputations, so they've got no shoulder at all, so it's just a focal amputation, so there's no clavicle scapula, just a neck and a rib cage. When you make something arm for something like that, you've got to rely totally on straps to hold it on. So there's an advantage that we can make something very, very lightweight now. We get these hands from Sweden, these PVC forearms and hands, and they are just like hollow blood. They are whole blood. They're really good. And onto them we can add a shoulder cap in plastisol, which is high density foam, and then we just get the forearm onto it so it swings at the elbow. So this enables people who previously perhaps wouldn't be able to wear an arm, who can now wear an arm thanks to modern materials, and that's advances like that. But perhaps we see more advances in materials and prosthetics than we do in electronics and that type of thing. Something that Roehampton probably got the only patient in the UK with osseointegration. So this chap, quite a difficult patient, he's a mechanic, and he wants to have a functional arm, and using it all in different positions. We made him all sorts of sockets, all sorts of sleeves, and trying to get over the problems we were having with him. And then Fiona suggested one day perhaps he could benefit from having osseointegration. So they got approval and did the operation. What this means is that the direct skeletal attachment of the artificial limb via an abutment that's protruding from the bone. He's got if you look, he's got part of a sleeve from a leg, as he did, around his upper arm, and into that we've stitched in a couple of electrodes, so you can work an electronic elbow and an electric hand. So by giving one signal, they'll operate the hand, and giving it a higher signal will operate the elbow. So he can do that very, very well. He puts that on in the morning, and he takes it off when he goes to bed. He's a very good user with it, and it's surprised us, but he does like it. We've offered, I have nothing for it, but we've talked to other patients, would you like to have osseointegration? And I haven't found anyone else who wants to have it. For the high level, for leg patients, it's a big benefit because you don't have the socket interface problems that you do in upper limbs. So for him, he likes it because he can take the hand off there and he can put on an electronic griper, so he can use it when he's working and put the hand back on. This little girl she wanted to to ride a bike. So what we like to do then was say, alright, we'll make her she wanted a red arm, so we made her a red arm, she's getting a red bike. And then we try and trick her then, where you can use your gloves and then we'll do some cooking and do all sorts of things like that. So she got quite good using a little split hook, but really she only ever wears it when she rides a bike. Now, her mum, this probably was taken about 2 or 3 years ago, this retro, she started playing hockey at school and she uses the arm for hockey, and she'd broken the little guide loop on the arm, and her mum came in and waited while we got a new one on there, which just shows that she, not just using it for riding a bike, but she's using a split hook for playing hockey. And we got one other boy, Roehampton, who wears a split hook all the time. He just puts that on in the morning and he never takes it off until he goes to bed. He has got problems with his other arm as well, so it is a very, very useful device. And never forget that a split hook is a much more useful device than any electric hand. You can see all around it. It's very, very simple and precise, so it's an ideal thing. If we ever have double below up amputees, we'll always recommend them to use 2 split hooks rather than electric hands. And that socket, just a self-sustaining socket, fits just above the condyles. Baby's wonky. This is probably the first arm that when your little one comes to see us and we're going to send her maybe 6 months old. This little girl, this is her first arm, but she's probably about a year old. So we'll see them at 6 months, and we can maybe sometimes at 4 months. And we'll make a little cosmetic one-piece arm. It just gives the child something to try on and to learn, just get used to wearing. It's quite good cosmetically. So we do quite a lot of these. What we do perhaps a lot more than that. This is high definition silicon. I don't know if many of you are aware. Those the fingers at the bottom there, the 3 fingers are silicon fingers. So this patient, lots of fingers in traumatic some kind of trauma, but wears silicon fingers all the time. And we now have about 70 patients who wear high definition silicon prostheses. It's very good. You don't do it all centres. This is Roehampton do this. Some centres you won't get high definition silicon. But we see the advantages of it because it certainly gives people a lot of confidence, and it's very good for their well-being. And once they've had these things, they very rarely go back to wearing anything else because they get used to wearing them, and they do like to go out and particularly if they've got a big event coming, or an event when they're going to meet people for the first time, it's nice that they've got something that they can feel confident to wear. We have a protocol around, and we said we've never fit high-definition silicon to children under 16. Now, we've done recently, we've fitted 3 congenital partial hand patients. All of them girls, all of them about 14 or 15. It's a similar level of amputation, almost through wrist. And this particular girl was in school, and she pulls her sleeve over her hand all day long. She won't show it to anybody. No one, she won't anyone see it. She hasn't got confidence to reveal it. And even when she has PE, she's got permission to wear a long top, and she covers her hand up. So this is the result. We made her a silicone hand, and she wears this like a little bracelet around where the hand finishes and her arm starts to cover up the joint, and people never really realise, because once an arm's at one either side, might be a slightly different colour if you go in the sun, one gets browner, put your hand up in the air, or the blood runs out, so they do change colour a bit. But for these 3 girls, it really does work well, and to see them later on, they come back and they have a review and we see how they're getting on. They seem happier, more confident, and they really do get on well with them. So I think we've had a change of heart now, so if we do get young teenagers, we'll often, I think we will always try and give them silicone hard hand. You see, you don't have to give silicone, you can give just an ordinary PVC rod that goes over the top, but that you're restricted then to like 9 or 10 different colours, whereas this you can get natural colours exactly and have lots of variations, do lots of really nice nails, and you can really go to town and get it spot on, and sizes and everything get on. So it's a good thing. It's expensive, but we're lucky around and we've got a budget for silicone. So coming to near the end now. Transcarpal myelectric arm. This young lad, he's got a similar amputation to the girl we saw on the previous slide. He's got an autobot transcarpal electric hand, a really good hand. He can rotate the hand in different positions because he's got his amputation right through the ribs. He can rotate the hand, pick things up, put them down, and he's got all that function which he utilises well. The last one he did say about 14, 15, 16, like the high-tech things, they like to have them like that, and really does suit it, and he wears it all the time. And he runs the school allotment club, and he's always out playing the allotment, so we have to give him 3 rotary so often because he's getting his most This is our latest myelectric patient. He's got a steeper stamp hand, and we fitted this young lady probably about a month ago. She's doing really well. Well, her mum said, her mum sent me this picture. I told her I was coming here with like another picture, so she sent me this picture. And so what I'd like to do is come back in 20 years' time and show you a picture of her when she's 24. But I may not be around now, I might have retired, who knows. That's it. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Sure.
Hi. You mentioned there with the bicycle, how you had to move the brakes over to the other side, both brakes on one side. I was just wondering, because I sourced the bike from the States, so they had foot brakes on one side, so my son could use the front brakes on the other side. Do you know why it is that you can't get foot brake bikes here?
No, I don't know. All we have to do is say to parents, go to helpers, and they can just put the 2 brake, the brake pedals over to one side, but I don't know how you can get foot brakes.
Yeah, I just got sourced one on the cable, and it seems a bit strange to have 2 brakes on one side because you can't operate both at the same time.
No, you can't, but I think that it's that's what we've sort of been advised by the in the risk assessment and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you want to get both brakes available.
It does work. You can do it too. I think we do some adults cycling advances as well. They don't tend to worry. They'll just have a back brake and they really won't use it on brake.
Right. Just curious.
We did manage to source a dual. We did manage to source a dual brake lever for my son's bike. I can't remember the bike. Sorry. I'm not on the way down. Yeah, you've got one. Yeah. So the dual brake lever on one side, but you can get them. But yeah, that's the bikes. Pedal brakes on it.
I've got these details here.
Very good.
It's a nice thing. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
The pedal brake that the gentleman was asking about that he couldn't source, you can actually get them on eBay. They're called on Amazon. Coaster hub brakes. They're called, where you can pedal backwards and then it locks the wheels. But you can also freewheel down hills. But they're available on Amazon.
Yeah, thanks for calling. Okay, thank you very much.
Why do you think it is, Guido, that with the huge advances in silicon and the technology, that the majority of kids prefer not to use a limb? Do you have any views about that?
Yeah, I think, see, in the early days, people would come and everybody, once a child got to 3 or 4, they would automatically say, well, it's time for you to have mine, and they would get mine whether they wanted one or not, more or less. And that seemed the case, everyone would have one. And I remember at Sleepers, Hampton, we used to have one of either a left or right, every single size of electric hand in stock, which would cost a fortune, and to do that now, we never do it. But what's happened in more recent years, I think people have more freedom. I think that also it's harder for parents and for patients to come. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, are the exception. You're doing really well. But to get the children to the Living Centre in the first place is quite hard and quite difficult. And I'm not sure that my electric arm is the answer for the young children, but for some it is, for some people it is. But that little girl, the last bit I showed you, she really wanted one, but her mum had built her up to that, and her mum really wanted her to have it. So you need the support from home. So you need someone to put your arm on when you were at school, and if the battery goes dead, you put no battery and all sort of things. So you need someone to look after it. I don't think we'll ever see those days again where everybody had an electric arm, but for some people it does suit them, and probably the majority it doesn't. People don't want to have something that's heavy, maybe uncomfortable. They're quite happy with the freedom and they can manage with one hand. But one thing I didn't mention is that you do get overused. If you're only using one hand all your life, that hand wears out much quicker. So that arm, the hand, the wrist and the elbow, all those components will wear out by the time you get in the 30s or 40s. Some people it never doesn't happen, so you leave their arms and fine, but not only because you use it twice as often, but you use it in awkward positions, so you get a bit of strain syndrome, and so you've got to watch out for that. We do see people in their 50s and 60s coming to us sometimes for the first time and getting a mileage arm. They can work it, and they can get on with it. We've got people who in their 50s and 60s who've never had an arm on before wear a mileage arm, and they think they're great and do well with them. But so you've got to be aware that there is a possibility that if you're not wearing an arm, you've got to keep an eye on your joints, and obviously that's one of the things you should discuss when you come back for a yearly checkup with the doctor. It's about your joints and your components of your sound arm, not just your effective arm. That
if you didn't start wearing a limb very early, that you were much less likely to pick one up later in life. Do you get a lot of people coming for adaptations later, or which are specific to their work or wanting to do things?
We do. We get some people coming in and they get referred. They go to the GP and talk about something arise. One of those girls there, we've never seen her before. One of those 3 girls who've got the cosmetic arms. She went to GP and it all came through there. And he recommended she come to us, and she's not been on our list before, never had a file, and we've not seen her before, but there wasn't apparently she needed to have a cosmetic file, and that once she got that, it really did help her in the years through that difficult teenage period. So we do see some people as well come in, and they'll have a change of prescriptions. Quite often they'll have one type of arm, we change it for another one, but it was some people don't even know where we are and we exist, and they've got an open charm. I see people at the airport sometimes, and they've got an open arm. I want to get, they're not wearing an arm. I want to go up and talk to them. I don't, and that's sort of, it's kind of intriguing. Why are these people? I like to see them all wearing arms. It's good for business, but they don't all wear arms, unfortunately. So, but then people get by. People make their own minds up a lot more now, but rather than have things inflicted on them, push on them.
Thank you.
I think we found that our daughter, the big list of different swimming and all the different sports or whatever, she's very happy to wear things to perform a function, as you mentioned earlier.
That's good.
And we've been very lucky to meet families who've maybe had something designed for them, that when we've got a child with a similar arm deficiency. And it would be interesting to know how the different limb fitting centres share that information and how we could access that.
Well, I think there should be like a data bank of all these appliances. We've got lots of them, and the guys in the workshop, I did take different photographs to them, and they made them, and we've got lots of them, and at Crystal Palace got quite a few that we could use as well. So I think if everybody got together, we could use something very interesting
I agree.
that we can always look at and talk to parents about and look at different things.
Yes, because we've had information from a family who had designs from Exeter that they've worked in conjunction with, and I've taken those to Stanmore and said, could you do something like this for us?
Right.
And so things like a bike attachment for hockey, cricket, that side of things. And I think if that could happen, that would be brilliant, because then when we want to go and talk about something, they can sort of look at those designs and come up with something that works for the specific child.
Yeah, that would be good to get it all on a day pressing.
And possibly next year, one of the things we could do here is people bring some of those sockets with them to share with other
you could have a
parents.
big display of all different things. You could have lots of them. I've got quite a few.
Thank you very much indeed.
Just very quickly, it's very interesting what you said about the occupational therapy follow-up that your original MyO patients used to get. Certainly we have several £1,000s of prosthesis sitting in my daughter's wardrobe, which is fine, but the main reason that she didn't pursue her MyO arm was a lack of any OT follow-up. We were unable to source any either through the limb centre, because there isn't an OT and there hasn't been certainly all her lifetime in East Anglia, and the local community OT services obviously lack any knowledge or expertise, so she was basically left to it on her own. And that's fine, she's absolutely fine with MyO, she doesn't tend to wear an arm at all, but it does strike me as not a terribly clever use of scarce NHS resources that we have kicked, which she wasn't ever going to succeed with. Through a lack of follow-up, and that's certainly not a lack of input from parents or goodwill or willingness to devote time.
Yeah, one of the protocols we always would say to parents is that if they get new mileage account, they have to come back and do the training, and they have to be given.
There was no training. The other thing is.
No, I know you didn't get any training because you didn't have an OT. But if Fiona, perhaps you can answer that question. There's Fiona. She's an OT.
It's very nice to hear occupational therapists getting such a good plug. I'm the occupational therapist at Roehampton, working alongside Nick. I think that I would quite agree that training is significant. The children that were part of the trial right early in 1979 had a week's training. How on earth these 3 to 5 year olds managed to concentrate as they did, I have no idea. I'm most impressed with them. Whereas now, even those centres that do have occupational therapy, they have sort of half an hour here, once a week for a little bit, and I think that impacts on it. Centres reckon that they will provide therapy if it produces income for the centre, and the dilemma is we don't produce income, we actually make the service better, and I would suggest that one can write to the managers of those centres and say, exactly what you just said, then that would be very helpful, actually. Well, the dilemma there is they might decide they won't give myoelectric arms anymore. So one needs to word the letter carefully, but I do feel that it's...
Many thanks, Nick, and thank you very, very much for coming.